think one of the challenges with bikes is, in the same way that, bikes haven't changed all that much, shops haven't changed all that much. And so, one of our goals is really, okay, how can we take those fundamentals and take something that on paper is kind of same idea. It's, a thing with two wheels and pedals and update how we're selling those to customers and really inspiring customers to get out, to understand, like, the benefits they can give because as you point out, you know while they haven't changed, while bikes are kind of still fundamentally the same thing, they're so much better now. Hey Brandon, how's it going?
Hey, Chris, it's going well. How are you doing?
Yeah, it's good to chat. It's good to be able to connect on a topic that we both share a passion for.
Welcome to the first episode of our podcast.
Yeah, it's exciting. I think the goals with this really are to chat about bike shop marketing, but more importantly, chat about something we really enjoy and how marketing connects to that, how we're challenges bike shops are going through right now, and how we can help, and just kind of some strategies to work through that, and then also just the fun side of bike shops, the toy shop side.
I love that. I think that's fantastic and right up both of our alleys. So that'll be fun. We've been talking about doing this for a while, so I'm excited to actually start pushing the boulder up the hill, and hopefully we'll have lots of success with this. So I appreciate you making time and chatting with me. Mm, Yeah, I think maybe we should talk about bikes first, since that's easy for us. I know
Well,
you're a pretty big cyclist, so why don't you share a little bit about you and your background and sort of what the bikes mean to you?
yeah, well, I also think we should talk about how we met because I think that's a pretty funny story. So, yeah, my name is Chris Mehlman. I've been riding bikes most of my life. My family's definitely always enjoyed. We've always leaned towards endurance sports. But for me, I started mountain biking in 2010 or so. We can edit this out. Let's see why. Yeah, it's just a video. Okay, you can still hear me, right?
I can hear you. Yeah, yeah, I can.
Right,
Your
great,
screen went
awesome.
went dark for a sec there, but I can hear you.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, so I started mountain biking when I was probably 10 or 11 with my dad. He rode with a coworker and it was just a cool way to get outside. And one thing it really gave me was freedom. So I obviously didn't have my license till I was 16, 17. Even when I was 11, 12, my parents would just let me go ride in the woods because we lived about 2 miles away from a trail network, and I could ride up the road, hop in the trail network through this little hole in the fence, do a lap, and ride home. And that was something that you couldn't really do. I lived on a busy road. There was no sidewalks, but I was able to get out and do that. And so I think for me, it was just a great way to get out in the woods. And for me, it's also just a way to explore new areas in a way that's time efficient, but also slow enough that you can actually enjoy things. You can challenge yourself physically, technically, mentally. Yeah, and then I decided to start racing, and from there, I've just kind of progressed to longer and longer events. I think for me, there's one key reason behind that, and that's just because I like riding my bike. And it's a great way for me to connect with people. So yeah, that's my cycling story, and I'll let you tell yours, and then I'd love to chat a little bit about how we met and yeah, the backstory of Miso Partners.
Excellent. Yeah, I so much like yourself. So, but bikes have kind of been with me since the beginning. I remember I learned how to ride my bike, I think when I was 4. I used to ride my bike around the block. I remember having this epiphany when I was 4, maybe 5, when I rode around the block for the first time, and I left my house and I returned from the other direction. So I went around the block, and that moment where I realized I could go anywhere on the bike, like I really could go anywhere. And I had forgotten that for years. And then in 2013, my partner at the time, I had this sort of remembered that moment and asked her if she wouldn't mind watching the dogs and holding down the fort. And I left my house in Waltham at the time, just outside of Boston, and rode my bike down to Fredericksburg, Virginia. hung a right, and rode all the way out to Astoria, Oregon. So I rode coast to coast. I did Trans America tour, and I really bikes have been a part of my life. So they've been transportation. That's been my escape, since I was a kid. Much like yourself, like before I had my license, I was riding my bike everywhere, the calves to show it. So that's a big part. I rode BMX for a long time, and that's one of the things I took away from that. So yeah, mountain bikes, road bikes, gravel bikes, BMX bikes. It's really just always been part of who I am. And even when I drift a little bit away from it, it's always fairly central. So these days, I have a actually stable of bikes I'm looking at right now, and I've got a gravel bike, road bike, a couple mountain bikes right here, and then I've got a commuter bike that's hanging in the shed. So yeah, lots of bikes, and then my other passion's marketing. So for me, marketing has been a huge part of my life. I started at Adidas, working for Mavic, so Mavic Cycling, doing neutral support for them on the road, Peloton. Then I worked at Red Bull, doing field marketing for them. Did this similar thing with vitamin water, and actually took that to Coca-Cola when vitamin water acquired Coca-Cola. I worked at Coca-Cola in Japan. I lived in Tokyo for 2 years, still riding my bike all around Tokyo. And then came back, did some investment banking for a couple of years, and then most recently the agency. So for the last 10 years, I guess 11 years now, Miso Partners has been into cycling, out of cycling, into cannabis, home services, a lot of things, and then really back to cycling. The focus is marketing in in bike shops and in bicycles in general. It's funny, Miso Partners is how I met you. I
Yeah,
met you.
I just wanted to get into that, I guess. I mean, I think that's one thing that kind of sets us apart, as individuals. Like, you obviously have a lot more experience than I do in marketing, but your experience isn't just in the cycling industry, it's beyond that. And I think that's something that is challenging in the cycling industry. A lot of people get into it for the passion, like we did, but don't come at it from a true marketing angle where they're able to take perspectives from outside. And for me, I'll get into how we met, but I, as an athlete, I also come at it from that perspective of, I'm looking kind of from the outside at companies and how they're handling their marketing and how I'm able to market the companies I represent. And I think it's led to a really interesting an interesting like uh meshing of two very different, I wouldn't call them, one of them's a career, one of them's a passion, but passion project. But it's been, they both benefited each other, and I think it's the same with what you're doing, what you've done outside of the cycling space. But yeah, I mean, when I was 17, 18, I met you. I was working at JRA Cycles in Medford, Massachusetts, and you were a brand rep, and I was mostly sweeping floors. I was not skilled as a mechanic. I'm better. I'm still not amazing, but I was definitely not allowed to touch bikes. Not with Brian there. You come into the shop. I think you were a rep for Da Vinci and a few other brands. And I remember you coming in and Da Vinci Maloya clothing. I kind of met you, and I was just kind of in the background. A little did I know, 8 years later, 7, 8 years later, I'll be working with you, working for you, and I think it's kind of a cool story because it's also a reminder of how small the cycling world is. It's it's a probably one of the biggest sports in the world as far as participation, not necessarily from a recreational standpoint, but from a commuter and stuff like that. Most kids learn to ride a bike. But then when you actually get into the cycling space, into bike shops and stuff, it's a small world, and I think people really support each other, which is cool. I have found that, in the same way that we had this, I ended up working, you hired me a couple of years ago. There's, shops look out for each other, those connections come back around, and I think that's one thing I really love about the cycling space.
Yeah, there's something about being around people that love what you love and are passionate about the thing that you're passionate about. I mean, I'm always shocked when people aren't about bicycles. For me, I mean, it is that it's the closest thing to flying that I think you can have on 2 feet. It's just to be able to like move through space at that speed, and no more wind in my hair, but be able to feel the the world go by at that speed is just. We had a chance to ride together a couple weeks ago, and I'm just based outside of Boston, and you're in Colorado Springs, so we don't see each other very often. And getting a chance to ride together it was a reminder, because we rode in a place that I rode for a huge chunk of my life in the North Shore in Massachusetts, through Essex and Ipswich and Topsfield, and that's sort of my backyard for a long time. I was easily 20 years. I lived in and around those places, and it's just such an amazing way to go through the world at that speed, without a wall between you and nature and people and cars. That can be tough. But yeah, I'm always surprised at how many people don't get bitten or lose the bug. I think anyone who rides a bike has that feeling, that joy, that moment of really pure exhilaration that you get. The freedom. It's a rush. It's dopamine. It's all those things. Adrenaline. It's all those things. And yeah, I think it's such an opportunity for bicycle retail. Like, they have a magical moment in people's lives, and e-bikes especially, like that, to me, is it just brings it back. It makes it easier to ride again, especially if you don't have. It's a pleasure to work in bikes. I'm very grateful to be able to work with you as well. It's been a pleasure to work with you. So yeah, I'm excited about where we're going to go with this podcast, and I'm open to sort of heading in any direction. I mean, I love talking about marketing. I love talking about bikes. I love talking about utility. The fact that it fits in as a commuter bike or a tool, cargo bikes, shipping. I've seen some really impressive things with e-bikes and even cargo bikes on four wheels. And so there's so much happening in cycling. There's headwinds. There's always going to be headwinds. I think tariffs, and there's sales, but we've had such good success with customers, and I'm just excited to share. And I guess maybe I can share, if you're okay with it. I can share kind of like why Miso Partners exists, like, so where it came from, the idea. To your point, I got out of cycling because when I worked in professional cycling, I worked in, and there's amazing people, and there are some like exceptional professionals in professional cycling. I am like, I'm in awe, there were amazing, but at the time, I didn't see, in the organization that I was working in, I didn't really see like a path forward that I wanted to participate in. The most of the guys that were above me at work, they'd always been in cycling. They really had done nothing else, and they didn't necessarily have like a pure marketing background. And I recognized that, and so when I left Mavic and went to Red Bull, it was really to learn how to be a marketer. It was to learn the ins and outs, the sort of the 101, the 102, the kind of stuff that they don't teach you in school. They probably do teach you in school now. At the time, it was less so. I think distance between knowledge and learning has shrunk over time. Uh, but that's part of why I worked at Red Bull. That's a big part of why I worked at Vitamin Water and why I worked at Coca-Cola, and why I came back. So when I went to Japan, and Miso, that's why it's the name of the company is Miso Partners, is because of my journey. I living 2 years in Tokyo and finding miso, the ingredient, as such a amazing part of the diet and a part of so many meals. It's such a versatile ingredient, and it is delicious.
Me. It's not
Umami. Yeah,
yeah.
some people don't like it. I love it. I think it's a great.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. I haven't been to Japan. I would love to go there though.
It's a wonderful place, and amazing people, great cycling culture. It's like, I think 20% of the landmass is actually occupied by people, and the rest of it is nature. And
Wild.
yeah, and
Yeah.
so you think about, like, you always think about Japan, you think about Tokyo and the cities, and how like it's so overwhelming. Like, it just goes on. The cities
It's
go on for
efficient though.
miles.
It's
Yeah,
efficient.
yeah, it's
It's like Europe as well, where you think about these villages, and village is very compact, and as soon as you leave the village, it ends. And it makes you think about cycling infrastructure and all the problems we have in the U.S. where I don't live in a city. I live in a city that has downtown the size of Springfield, Massachusetts, but the city itself is 450,000 people, and it spreads for miles. It's just sprawling, and it makes me think about, as somebody who uses that infrastructure as a cyclist and understands all the dangers that come with it. It really makes me think about, yeah, the challenges that come with that. So a little tangent, but it was always something interesting in different areas of the U.S. and throughout the world.
yeah. I'm a big fan of travel. I think it's important if you get a chance, travel, bring your bike, go places that are new and different. And I think there's a couple of things. So traveling for me opens up all these different cultures. You get a different point of view to the way people live, and the bike. Similarly, I love riding different bikes. I think one of the things I've experienced throughout my cycling is every time I ride a different bike or a different type of bike, like when I ride a BMX bike or I ride a road bike or a mountain bike or a different type of mountain bike, you get a different experience. I remember riding a single speed for the first time, and like you have to ride really fast and really hard on a single speed. So it teaches you to ride differently than you ride on a bike, on a geared bike, something that's got a big wide range. Anyway, so I like this idea of miso as a versatile ingredient. And so when I was looking to start the agency as a sales agency first, or the sales rep agency, this idea of miso as a an ingredient that only improves the food, only makes it better. I like the idea of miso as a marketing agency that only improves the clients, really lifts up what folks are already doing.
Well, I also think it's cool because, I think about miso and how many thousands of years has that probably been used in Japanese cuisine. In the same way, you think about bikes, and bikes are fundamentally haven't changed much. Like it's the same idea. We're still marketing the same basic product. When you talk about a revolutionary change of bikes, okay, e-bikes are certainly one thing, but when you talk about shifting, okay, electronic, but the idea is largely still the same, and the functionality of a bike is largely still the same. And I also think that kind of relates to the marketing, where one of the challenges in the cycling space is the marketing fundamentals are the same. Same stuff that's been going on for decades, but how you do it has changed. And I think one of the challenges with bikes is, in the same way that bikes haven't changed all that much, shops haven't changed all that much. And so, one of our goals is really, okay, how can we take those fundamentals and take something that on paper is kind of same idea. It's, a thing with two wheels and pedals, and update how we're selling those to customers and really inspiring customers to get out, to understand, like, the benefits they can give, because as you point out, you know while they haven't changed, while bikes are kind of still fundamentally the same thing, they're so much better now. I mean, it's so much more of an enjoyable experience. Like, I don't know if last time you've ridden a 1990s mountain bike. That my last commuter bike before it was stolen was that, and I'm like, man, it's great to get around town. It's not fun though. And now it's with like the modern mountain bikes and with e-bikes and nice road bikes, just how fast and comfortable everything is. It's like the sport is expensive, but it's also in a way much more accessible. I mean, it doesn't have to break the bank, and even the lower end stuff is, if you think about it compared to a car, it's a no-brainer as a way to see an area, as a way to get around, as a way to shop. Even if you have a cargo bike, take your kids to school. So I think there's just a lot of opportunity in this space right now.
It's interesting that you mentioned, sort of seismic shifts, things, things that really have or haven't changed. The bikes is relatively the same. It's been, there are I think some big changes. I love my dropper post. I love my hydraulic disc brakes. Even on my road bike and my gravel bike, I think they're super helpful. But marketing is, fundamentally, it's still connecting with people. It's connecting products with people. It's developing emotional. That's one of the things that's so exciting about the bike is that people do have such an emotional connection with it. It is such an emotional experience. So to me, it should be very easy to market bicycles, right? It's this fun, exciting thing. What has changed is the landscape, the digital landscape, and I regularly talk to customers, and I won't get too much into this, but I do think it's important. We talk about, like, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, how did you advertise your shop? Well, I sent direct mail. We would do like promotions at events. We'd participate in community events, the Fourth of July parade, and we would do an ad in the phone book in the yellow pages. And there's a handful of things that we might do ads on the radio. Like that's lots of shops did and do. And so what do you do now? You
Podcast
don't.
ads, that's what you do now.
Podcast ads are great. That's a great idea. I think that's a really, really, really good place to spend some dollars. I would actually encourage that. But a lot of shops don't advertise. So the phone book went away, and social media came, and some people do some social media ads, and I think there's a place for that. But where do people search? Like, this is what's going on. And marketing's changed. Like this, they're searching online, and it's great to be on social. It's great to have a website. It's great to have a Google business profile. But ads, I mean, that's how people find you. That's how they find you. And search engine optimization. I think that the local search is these are big. These are the tools. So I know we're going to get into a lot of this over time. And I don't want to drag our first podcast on, but I do think it's important to kind of talk about this. Um, the marketing piece is part of it. I think, like, the joy of the bike is going to be part of the podcast, and also, like, how do we get, I mean, at a fundamental level, how do we get more people on bikes to enjoy bicycles, and make sure that they're working with their local bike shop?
Well, it's like just I guess we can start wrapping it up. But one of the things that I think about is how there's not always one right line to take on a trail. So, for example, when I'm riding with somebody who's ridden this area for 10 years, they'll be like, "This is the line," but I might be like, "I'm first time seeing this." I'm like, "Nah, well, I think this line's faster. I'm gonna take that line." And they're used to it. They've just been taking that line, a thousand times. And I think that's the case here as well, where, there's a mentality that, well, I've been doing it, it works fine. This works for me. I'm able to get up the feature. It's pretty fast. Maybe that's not the fastest, but it's fine. And I think what we can do and what's exciting to me is that you can kind of show people a new line and be like, this is maybe that one's worked for a while, but maybe this one's faster. Like, have you tried it? Like, this is a really cool option. And I think that's where having that external um, perspective can help, and the not just the external perspective as another set of eyes, but another set of eyes that has the experience outside of the industry that really can look at it and also recognize that it's not a science. It is kind of an art. Like, there, even within the quote unquote correct ways of doing things, there's variation. It's, how much, what do you want to spend on? What do we want to focus on? What are the goals of the shop? And I think one of the cool things about bike shops is it's not a car dealer where every Ford dealer looks the same. Like, they have the same sign outside, the same cars outside, all that stuff. It's every shop, obviously there's a different mix of brands. So it's, almost no shops are selling one brand. So there's a different mix of brands, which creates a personality for the shop. There's different types of riders they target. So there's, it could be commuters, it could be really high-end mountain bikers. People are super serious about it. It could be people, families, it could be gravel riders. So every shop has a flavor, and I think one of the cool challenges for me is tapping into that flavor and seeing, okay, how can we take it and how can we help them grow in the direction they want to grow, but while keeping that same sort of ethos and same sort of yeah, personality. And I think that's what's exciting. There's nothing bland out there. It's not like a box store where everything's the same. You walk into it and everything's familiar. It's familiar in a way, but things are in different locations. You're like, oh, that's cool. They have that piece there. Like, most shops don't
Mhm.
carry that. Or,
Yeah.
oh, look at that jersey on the wall. Or look at that 1990s bike. And I just think that's cool. And I think that a lot of the stores we interact with nowadays lack that. We're just shopping online, or we're going to a department store where you always know that this product is going to be in stock, and all the people are dressed in the same uniform, and maybe sometimes they don't care as much about their job, whereas in bike shops, the good ones, yeah, people are there because they love it. So
I really like that idea, the riding with someone who's either local or just in general riding with new people. And I don't know, I'm sure you've had this experience too, but the times in my life when I've made some of the biggest gains have come when I've ridden with people that are better than me. When I've sort of like tagged along on rides where the folks that were riding were faster than me or had better skills or more experienced in that discipline, and it's pushed me. And so I think it's the same as with marketing is when I've you know put myself around people that are more experienced than me, that are trying something different, doing a different line, riding a different type of bike, riding a downhill bike on a mountain, or running a $1 million ad campaign with a digital brand. Like that type of experience pushes you. Like it's not the same experience if you're not getting out of your comfort zone. So I like that idea. The other thing, the sort of analogy between bikes and marketing that I think is really good is momentum. I love the idea of like momentum is your friend, right? And so in cycling, this, like as much as you can not scrub speed, everything you can do to keep that momentum, hold that line, not touch those brakes. That's where a lot of your speed comes from, right? A lot of it, it's like there's definitely fitness differences, but once you get the bike going, it's not as hard to keep it going if you keep the momentum. And marketing's the same way. It takes a little bit of effort to get the wheels turning, but I love that as an analogy of the bicycle as marketing, because it is all about momentum. Is how can you get momentum? How can you keep momentum? How can you not scrub speed? And learn. So hopefully we can cover some really good ideas. It's we're coming. It's Halloween right now, so we're going to be rolling into Thanksgiving and Black Friday and a whole bunch of opportunities for building momentum. Building culture at your shop. So
yeah, it's exciting time, and it's also um, you know, I hate to use more bike analogies, but in some industries, it seems like, the companies are almost there. It's like all they got to add is, buy the ceramic bearings and, the little fine touches to make things better with marketing. Whereas I think there's a lot to be gained from most bike shops, and, there's a lot of big wins that can be had really quickly. And I think, as you always say, you don't know until you try, and you don't know until you make that change how much better it could be. And it can be scary, but it's worth it. And I think that's kind of the mentality I'm going into talking with shops with is look, like, this may have been working for 20 years, but is it working as well as it could be? Like, you could be doing so much better, and that's exciting. And I think, like, it's also exciting because change is scary, but it's also, oh, whoa, this is cool. This is new motivation, new, for the whole team on the shop floor. And I think that, as you said, that can lead to momentum, and then that momentum leads to more momentum, and it's, yeah, it's, you just start racking up the wins. So
I don't think we have a topic for our next podcast yet. So if we do have, I think it's early days. So, but if anyone listens to this and there's a topic that they'd like to suggest, wide open right now. And we have a few guests that are interested in coming on, but we're open to having other guests as well. So please reach out to us. We can be reached at misopartners.com, so you can go to our website and reach out there. Yeah, I'm excited to explore this with you, and sort of get dug into the world of marketing and bicycles and bike shops. See where it goes. So
yeah,
appreciate it.
and I mean, the goal is, in 10 years we look back on this and laugh at how bad it was. So yeah, you feel free. That's what it's for. Everyone's got to have a first time, and I've been on podcasts before, but and Brandon's the same, but always as a guest, or mostly as a guest. And so it's a new experience for us, but it's exciting, and I think it's a good outlet. share our passion sort of within the work realm, also outside of the work realm, and it's cool. So I'm excited. Awesome. Well, we'll chat next week.
That sounds great. I'll
Yeah.
talk to you then. Well, I'll talk to you sooner, but we'll talk
Yeah.
here
Wow.
then.
We'll talk here next week.
Okay. We'll talk soon. Take care, Chris.
Yep. Bye.